enforcement. I call this January 26, 2021 virtual administrative meeting of the Bernalillo County Commissioners to order. And so now we will have a silent invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And this time I would like to ask Mei Ling, are you still with us? You're the most talkative person tonight. So after our silent invocation, will you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Right. Oh, stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which we stand, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mei Ling. And let's see, Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, there's only one change that I have, and it's item 3A, the Board of Finance member for Investment Committee to be added to item to the agenda as item 7N, as in Nancy, on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have just a minor change. I have a discussion item about temporary housing for the homeless. So I'd like that added in under discussion at the end. And so on to proclamations.
Madam Chair, if we can get a vote for the added item.
Oh, okay. For both of them, do I just ask for a vote for changes to the agenda?
So for the documented addendum, we'll go ahead and vote on that. I'll have to defer to Ken on the addition of the discussion item since it wasn't published. You can have the opportunity as a point of parliamentary privilege to speak on anything up to 5 minutes that impacts the board, but it won't be officially added to the agenda.
Okay.
It wasn't published. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So so we don't have to take a vote?
So just vote on item 3A being moved to consent as 7N.
Okay. Okay. So I move to approve that we move that item 3A to consent agenda.
Second.
Is item 7N. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Madam Clerk, do we need a roll call vote on that?
Yes, ma'am. So Commissioner Barboa? Commissioner Benson?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley?
Aye.
Vice Chair Quesada?
Aye.
Madam Chair?
Aye. Thank you. So now on to proclamations. And the first one is for National Gun Violence Survivors Week. And even though I'm there as the sponsor, I'd like for Commissioner Quesada to read this one. I know that he's been involved in gun safety. I know that he conducted the community forum. So Commissioner Quesada, would you read the proclamation, please, on National Gun Violence Survivors Week?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sure, it'd be my privilege. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, whereas every year nearly 39,000 Americans are killed in acts of gun violence and nearly 85,000 more are shot and wounded, and whereas by early February, more Americans are killed with guns than are killed per countries in entire calendar years, and whereas a gun violence survivor is anyone who has personally experienced gun violence, whether you've witnessed an act of gun violence, been threatened or wounded with a gun, or had someone you know and cared for wounded or killed. Whereas forms of gun violence can include, but not limit to, gun suicides, gun homicides, domestic violence involving a gun, shooting by law enforcement, and the unintentional shootings. And whereas 58% of the American adults, including 68% of Black and Latino Americans, or someone they care for, has experienced gun violence in their lifetime, demonstrating the reach and the impact gun violence has in communities across America. And whereas firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens, and whereas Americans in cities across the nation are working to end senseless violence by advocating for common sense gun safety legislation, and whereas by commemorating National Gun Violence Survivors Week on February 1st to February 7th, municipalities across America will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives stolen by gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encouraging responsible gun ownership to help keep our communities safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners hereby declares February 1st to February 7th, 2021 to be National Gun Violence Survivors Week, and encourage all citizens to support their community's effort to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Done this 26th day of January 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, and will be signed by all board of the county commissioners.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Casada. And our next proclamation, I actually have an acknowledgement. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Chandler Swaim, acknowledging that on November 29 at about 9:40 p.m., Chandler Swaim came across a recent motor vehicle crash on I-40 eastbound and stopped to assist the victims of the crash, and acknowledging that Mr. Swaim first attempted to assist the victims of a vehicle engulfed in flames, but being unable, went to a victim crying for help in the second vehicle, finding her and breaking into the back window of the pickup truck, and acknowledging that while rescue crews worked to enter the vehicle, Mr. Swaim risked himself aiding and comforting the victim inside the truck, supporting her neck and spine, and providing crucial medical information to first responders until she could be extricated. And acknowledging that Mr. Swaim's selfless actions, along with the assistance from rescue crews, saved the life of the only survivor in that crash. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners recognizes Chandler Swaim for his acts of bravery that were directly responsible for and principally saved the life of the trapped victim of this crash. Done this 26th day of January 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, and presented on this day and signed by all of the commissioners. I'm looking to see if Mr. Swaim is on our Zoom. I guess not. Hopefully we'll send Mr. Swaim a nice copy of this acknowledgement. Okay, thank you. And it always amazes me when our citizens engage in heroic acts like that. It's just amazing. I appreciate Chief Perez for bringing this to my attention. So moving on to public comment and communications. Julianne, did we receive any general public comment?
We received one general public comment from Ms. Geraldine Amato, and that'll be made part of the record of this meeting.
Thank you very much. Approval of minutes. For the minutes of January 21, 2021 administrative meeting, I will move to approve the January 21, 2021 administrative meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
And my apologies, that was a typo. So it was the January 12th, 2021 meeting.
Oh, that would have been much easier for me to read too. So I move to approve the January 12th, 2021 minutes. And did I
Second.
see Commissioner Casada second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk, would you like to do the honors?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Barboa. Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye.
So called.
Okay, and thank you. And now the approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for items 7A, 7B, 7F, 7G, and 7H. And we don't need one for the new, no, for the new item that was added in.
Okey doke. 7A1 is FR 2021-5. 7A2 is 2021-6. 7.3 is 2021-7. 7.4 is FR 2021-8. 7.8 is FR 2021-9. B is FR 2021-10. F is AR 2021-11. G2 is FR 2021-12. H is in Harry, AR 2021-13. Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And let's see. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Benson, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And Madam Clerk, we're back.
All righty, Commissioner Barboa. Commissioner Benson. Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye.
So called.
Okay. And now to finish up,
Chair,
okay, Commissioner Barboa?
yeah, thank you, Chair, members of the commission. I think we just approved the 2 appointments that I had sponsored, and I just wanted to give a couple of words for those 2.
Oh, sure. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I hope folks got to read the resumes of both Susan Reyes, who will be now serving at the Detention Facility Management Oversight Board. I am proud to have known and worked alongside Susie Reyes for many years, both with when she was working at La Placita Institute in the South Valley. She's worked with women in recovery. She currently serves as a community health worker, working with folks directly in detention, getting them resources, and has a wealth of knowledge in this field, and I think will be a great asset to the detention facility oversight. I'm excited for her appointment to this board. And just to also quickly mention Havens Levitt. She has been a mentor to me, and she is she currently is the only staff member for SAGE, which is an organization that serves and looks to inform elder LGBTQ community members, almost like an AARP for LGBT community. So I think she will bring breadth and such expertise to the Senior Advisory Committee, and I'm thankful for both of them accepting these appointments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. We always do like to honor the people who serve on our boards and committees. So thank you. So moving on, this is an item that that we're bringing forward from last time because we needed a quorum, and only the people who were present, the 3 commissioners who were present at the closed meeting last year, can vote on this. The other 2 had the new people recused themselves as they should because they weren't present. So I will read the closed meeting statements 1 and 2, and then we will vote to approve them. So closed meeting statement number 1, I offer the following statement regarding the closed litigation meeting held Monday, December 28, 2020 at 9 a.m. Only those items described on the published notice and agenda for the closed meeting held on December 28, 2020 were discussed at the closed meeting. I need a motion for approval of this statement, and it will become part of the minutes of this meeting.
I move for approval.
Okay, thanks. And Julianne, can we just vote after I read the second one on both statements?
A vote's required individually for each. of them.
Okay. So Commissioner Casada moved to approve. I will second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa. Commissioner Benson.
Oh, they're recusing because they were not at the meeting.
I couldn't hear. Okay.
Yeah, they are recusing because
So I
they're
still
not.
need to hear them say
Okay.
it, Shirley.
Okay.
Recuse myself. Thank you.
And you also, Commissioner Benson, okay.
Yes, ma'am. I
Commissioner
recuse myself.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Vice Chair Casada.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got one more closed meeting statement number 2. I move that the Bernalillo County Attorney be authorized to proceed with the matters discussed in the closed meeting held on Monday, December 28, 2020, within the parameters set by this commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Commissioners O'Malley and Casada seconded. So would you call the roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Commissioner Barboa.
Recuse myself.
Commissioner Benson.
I recuse myself.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Yes.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
So called.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to number 8, adoption of ordinance amendment to county code. Let's see. Madam Clerk, please provide ordinance numbers for item 8A and 8B, please.
Yes, ma'am. 8A is ordinance 2021-1. 8B is ordinance 2021-2.
Thank you very much. And first, this is the Economic Development Project Revenue Bond for La Serena Apartments, LLC. And Mei Ling, do you present now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, Madam Chair.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, members of the commission, the Economic Development staff recommends adoption of the ordinance authorizing the Bernalillo County Commission to approve the project revenue bond application relating to the authorization, issuance, and sale by Bernalillo County, New Mexico of its multi-housing revenue bonds for Supportive Housing Coalition of New Mexico and Thomas Development Company in one or more series of tax-exempt and/or taxable bonds in the aggregate amount not to exceed 11 million. I'll stand for questions.
Madam Chair, I move approval.
Okay. Julianne, do we first need to conduct a public hearing?
Yes, that is correct. And nobody has signed up for their public hearing on this item.
Okay, so Commissioner O'Malley has moved to adopt ordinance 2021-1, authorizing the county commission to approve a project revenue bond application in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $11 million relating to the authorization, issuance, and sale by Bernalillo County, New Mexico of its multifamily housing revenue bonds, La Serena Apartments, LLC, in one or more series of tax-exempt and/or taxable bonds. I will second that, and all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson. Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. And now on to 8B, project revenue bond for Roque Apartments LLC. Mei Ling, please present.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the Commission, the Economic Development staff recommends adoption of the ordinance authorizing the Bernalillo County Commission to approve a project revenue bond application relating to the authorization, issuance, and sale by Bernalillo County, New Mexico, of its Bernalillo County, of its multifamily housing revenue bonds for Supportive Housing Coalition of New Mexico and Thomas Development Company in one or more series of tax exempt and or taxable bonds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $27,900,000. I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval. I know there's a public hearing first, but I'll just.
Okay. Julianne, did we receive any public comment for this item?
We did not. Thank you.
Thank you. And so Commissioner O'Malley moves to approve. Do I hear a second? Commissioner Barboa seconds. And so since Mei Ling read that whole thing, I won't read it over again, but all in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Great. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
All righty.
Thank you very much. And now moving on to 8C. Public hearing on low-income property tax rebate pursuant to NMSA 7-2-14.3. And Shirley Reagan, please present.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Shirley Reagan, Deputy County Manager for Finance. State statute, New Mexico, NMSA 7-2-14.3 requires that in January of every odd number year, the board conduct a public hearing on the question of whether the municipal or county property tax rebate should be adopted. Taxpayers with a modified gross income less than $24,000 residing in counties that have enacted a low income property tax rebate ordinance in accordance with NMSA 7-2-14.3 are eligible to apply for the property tax rebate. The maximum rebate under the state statute is $350. Stand for questions.
Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner O'Malley.
I did have a conversation with Shirley earlier. I do want to, let's see, I guess there's a public hearing, but I do want to move to introduce for adoption the low-income property tax rebate ordinance.
Okay.
And I can explain why, but
Okay.
I don't know when I would do that.
Okay. First of all, Julianne, did we receive any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we did not.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Malley, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I'll just go ahead and explain my reasoning behind that. As was mentioned in the write-up, the rebate would be based on income, not age. And individuals who qualify could not make more than $24,000 modified gross income per year. And again, the maximum rebate is $350. This amount could be reduced as a percentage of the property tax liability with incomes up to $24,000. So it doesn't necessarily mean someone would get $350. It depends on their tax liability and a percentage and of their income as well, and it would go down. It could be, I think, I don't know what the least amount would be, but the top is $350. So I looked at the financial analysis and I looked at the assumptions, and I don't really feel like they accurately reflect the county's liability. The maximum liability, $14 million, is, for me, it seems improbable given that many low-wage earners, particularly younger families, live in rental units and do not pay property tax at least lot directly. The 14 million number, the high number, assumes that 40,000 homeowners out of 86,000 households earning $35,000 or less would qualify for the maximum of $350 rebate. So I got this information from Santa Fe County. There's two counties that were also mentioned in the analysis, Santa Fe and Los Alamos. Santa Fe County has had this program for a while. They put out 60,000 tax bills. We put out 275,000. Their liability last year, and it's been around the same amount, has been $500,000, $550,000. The folks that have applied for it were about 1,652 to be completely accurate. So based on that, just taking sort of apples to apples and looking at that number, I used a multiplier of 4.6, and it looks like our liability, if we had the same response, which would be like Santa Fe's, it would be about, the liability would be about $2.5 million or $2.6 million. That number has been pretty steady in Santa Fe over the years. We have we're basically charging folks about 3%, up to 3%, but mostly it is 3%. Increase in property taxes every year. My properties have certainly gone up 3%. And unfortunately, wages don't go up 3%, and expenses or cost of living is still going up. But unfortunately, people don't have the income, and it's been getting very tough. But the county does budget for a 3% increase in property tax revenue every year, or an average of 3%. I think it makes sense to move forward with this, enacting this. And we've had this before us every 2 years, and to be honest with you, I felt very uncomfortable not voting for it. But I think a lot of times the numbers have been so high, or the estimates have been so high, that I thought, well, that could, really hurt the county. But I think, I don't want to, I think this is an opportunity for people to get something back that are paying into the taxes. This will help, I think, seniors on fixed incomes who may have paid off their mortgage but still owe property taxes, or let's say a low wage family member who inherits a home, but just low wage earners in particular who are paying property tax. I think it'll help them. It doesn't seem like much, maybe $350 or $75, but it can pay a utility bill. So I think that's really important. So I move that we move forward with and I think this, I don't know the exact language, but I think it's for approval or introduction.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner O'Malley. Shirley Reagan, you are the Director of Finance, and you had not recommended that this be approved. And can I just hear from you your reasons for that, and maybe a little bit about the data that you used, how you came up with your numbers?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, because we don't have access to the number of people that would qualify based on a modified gross income, what we did is we looked at the number of assessed value properties in the Bernalillo County that were under 100,000. Then we looked at data from the census that told us the number of households that had under a certain amount of level of income that would qualify. So we took that and then we created some scenarios on the assumption that if all of those property owners of those properties were to take 100%, or if they were 70%. So we came up with the range. Since I've been deputy county manager the last 5 years, we've been trying to work with the state to get a better determination of what that really is. If you look at the record, only 2 counties have adopted that, even out of the municipalities. And they are 2 of the more wealthier counties in the state. And so the magnitude, I don't know that they would have the same number of individuals that would be eligible compared to Bernalillo County, who has more individuals that could potentially qualify for that rebate. we've been trying to get better information, and we've been looking at that because, as you know, property taxes make up about 49% of our general fund budget. And as I always say, pretty much every dollar in the budget is accounted for and has a name on it. So since we would be responsible for reimbursing the state for any rebates that they provided, that would mean we'd have to have an offset in our budget to cover that expense. So that would mean we'd either have to reduce the current budget, and given the implementation of this, if it were to go through, it would affect tax year 21. And for us, that would be the FY22 budget, which we are currently working on now and having to make some reductions or account for differences and slower growth in GRT based on COVID and the other economic, business closures and all of that. So at this point in time, it could have a significant impact, but we really don't know. We reached out, like I said, to the state again and they have not been able to provide any good information for us to come up with a better calculation. So we were just trying to do a correlation of what data is and test that out.
Okay. And so in your estimation, I believe it was what, $14 million? That
We
the county
had between 9 million and 14 million, yes, Commissioner.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Casada?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot of these numbers seem to be speculative on both sides, in my opinion. And so I was wondering, instead of us trying to have this fall on the taxpayers, which, it just seems like you're charging more taxes to give them money back on the back end. It seems like they're paying on that anyway, no matter which way you flip that coin. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. That's just the way I read it. But would it be, I think, more advantageous that if we came up with a program that we could implement through the county to help relieve some of these, these low-income residents in my district? Not that they don't need it, because I'm not going to argue against the fact that there's probably people, most likely now more than ever, in need of some kind of relief. Would it be more feasible that we put an X amount of dollars and put that? And so you're not talking about, because we don't know if it's going to be 9 million. According to Commissioner O'Malley, it's a lot less than that based on her numbers. Wouldn't it be more feasible that we take that lower number, create a program, see how that works and see how that impacts the community, instead of everybody across the board has to, flat do what you're asking them to do, which is, based on raising that 3%, because, we do budget in that 3% every year anyway to our budget. That doesn't really relieve from another program like this. So it would actually, in my opinion, you're bumping it 6% to follow through with one other program. So that's my suggestion. If we could look at that and see what kind of numbers that would be, and if that's even actually feasible. But it's really hard to continue to support the raising of any kind of property tax that we're going to have to pay back, or if we're going to relieve that, we're going to have to pay that back to the state. So I know that hurts our budget, but maybe there's an alternative is all I'm asking.
Madam Chair, so I could respond to that. This is a state, this would be a state program.
I'm sorry, Commissioner O'Malley. Actually, Commissioner Barbeau, I had her.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. And I am thankful for this debate. I feel in my newness, I've been excited to hear how well our county books are maintained and that we have survived this COVID and pandemic without having to lay off any of our employees or go to any extreme lengths to make sure. And I know that we've done a lot to offer recovery during time through federal grants and trying to get those out the door. So I'm learning and thankful for all that. I do think that if this is, when I think about what we can offer, even in this small amount of relief to people during this time, I think it feels like a good step. I think if we've been stretching to understand the data and understand where folks that make under $24,000 a year, that I know we're a largely low income county, but this will help us get that data and help us provide a little bit of relief, hopefully, to those folks. And I just imagine one of the first emails I got when I came into my new position was from a man who was paying his mother's property taxes, and he asked very clearly to get some relief for her because he had lost his employment and was worried about her losing her house. Gentrification and the ways our families, I live in the same home that my parents built. So the idea of people who are on fixed incomes possibly being threatened to lose their homes, possibly homes that they've held on to for generations like I have, is important to me. And I think with the pandemic we're doing, I'd like to second this motion for the discussion, of course.
Commissioner Benson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I've got a couple questions and then I'd like to add something after that. But Ms. Reagan, can you tell me if this were to go into play, let's say Commissioner O'Malley's numbers are correct, or let's say that your numbers are correct, there's a decrease in tax revenue. How would that be offset?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, we would have to look at a couple things. We would have to look at the existing budget and potentially reduce expenditures. What I also want to point out is that, yes, the state statute allows you to, the assessor to increase assessed values on properties by 3%. But the State Department of Finance and Administration also has a yield control formula, which does in that second year and out, does not allow you to collect property taxes on 100% of the assessed value. It's only at 97%, so that they minimize that capturing of those dollars. But we would have to look in our budget and understand what we would need to reduce. And since we're not just solely property tax, we also have gross receipts tax. That's another factor that goes into this. Our gross receipts tax, they're coming in better than what we expected, but we're still trending almost level compared to what we were in 2019 before the pandemic. So we're not seeing the kind of growth. So we're trying to use all of that to help offset the overall budget.
Okay, thank you. And then I keep hearing 24,000. Is it only folks making less than 24,000 that would be affected by this?
It's not necessarily making less than 24,000. It's at a modified gross income. So if you are familiar with taxes, what could happen, it could be somebody that makes 70,000, 50,000, if they can bring down their taxable income to below the 24,000, and then they'd have to be 65. So it's not just starting out with individuals starting with 24,000 gross income, it's a modified gross. So there's deductions that have come out. And when typically it starts with your federal and it takes your adjusted gross, and that's what comes over into the state. And then there's other deductions that can be taken to further adjust that modified gross income, as well as some adds. So it's a formula, and it varies by individual and their individual tax status.
Okay. So then my follow-up question to that, and Commissioner O'Malley, if let's say an individual is making $80,000 but had a modified income of 24 after deductions. Was that number still in your equation?
Yes, so I mentioned early on, it was modified gross, so it's 24,000. I'm not arguing with Shirley about that. I'm saying that, and that in fact, this particular program is the same in Santa Fe and Los Alamos. So the numbers that I gave you is the exact same program. It's modified gross. It's a state program. We would not administer it. The state would administer it. The state, you have to apply to the state. So that's one of the kind of nice issues is that we wouldn't have to administer something like this. It wouldn't have to be a program that we have to create. Yeah, I mean, is there going to be a loss of income to the county? Yeah. I mean, that's basically, you have to offset that. And, I'm feeling that I think it's important enough to look at that. You can sunset something like this if you think that if it's getting to be too difficult, or it's got too much of a liability, or I think that's what they've done before. In the other two counties, I think they can say, they have the right to repeal it if it becomes too, the liability is too great. But I think the thing is that I think that lower number is more correct than this higher number, and that higher number is just a scary number. I mean, if I saw $14 million, of course I would be shocked and say, of course we can't do this. That's way too much money for the county. But I think this helps people out, and that's what we want to do. And we were talking about people who are paying property tax, which, by the way, the people who pay property tax for residential are carrying the biggest burden for property tax in the county. They're the ones that pay the largest portion, the largest share. So I think it will help folks at the lower income levels. Not everybody's going to apply for it, but those who do, I think that would be helpful. So that's it. That's really all the comments I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So then one point of correction, though, one thing you had said is that, our property taxes go up by 3% every year, which my constituents have complained to me about that as well.
Right.
I don't enjoy watching that number go up, but we just had a 12% pay increase, 12.3% increase for minimum wage employees. So, which means that those folks have made a pay increase, and the small businesses who have managed to survive this pandemic, if they've managed to survive, they've taken a pay decrease if they're trying to make a living on whatever's left over in their businesses. So, if folks were employed by businesses that had figured out how to survive, they're doing all right. The folks that don't have jobs because our unemployment is sky high because so many businesses have collapsed with the shutdown, then we're all in the same boat together. My biggest concern is the unintended consequences of this. It makes this more likely that we will have to increase or keep property taxes high afterwards, which I would like to lower property taxes for everybody, not just one portion of people. Also, I'm not confident in the numbers I'm saying here with if someone can make $80,000 and still qualify for this, that concerns me. Also, some expenses we might have to cut, which might be a benefit to lower income families. There might be an unintended consequence there. So I don't feel comfortable moving forward with this, hearing both sides of the argument. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Commissioner Casada, I see you have your hand up again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify with Shirley. So this is a state program that they want to offer the residents of whoever decides to jump into this program. But at the end of the day, we pay the state back for their program, is what you're telling me. So it's sort of an unfunded mandate program from the state that's saying that we want to help the residents of New Mexico, but we're not going to pay for it as a state entity. You're going to have to pay for it as a county entity, right? That's what it is.
Madam Chair,
Dr. White.
Commissioner Casado, that is correct.
Madam Chair,
can
whenever,
anyone
I'm sorry,
ask me
you
if-
have the floor. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's all right. I just want to follow. I just want to say that I agree with the program. I just wish that the state would finance and do the program is where I'm at. I would like to see the states implement something and then follow through and pay for it. And that's just my opinion. And that's where I'll just end there. It's very complicated. There's a lot to it, but I'm just going to end right there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, you're welcome. Commissioner O'Malley?
Yeah, there's no doubt that there would be a loss in revenue, and they would have to be offset. I'm pretty clear about that. I just think that the numbers and I'm not blaming Shirley for anything. She does an excellent job for us. I just think the assumptions were not correct. And I think that high number to me, is just totally wrong. I think we got closer to a number, at least we got closer to a number that I think commissioners can make a decision about and say, well, that's probably, and I believe that's probably true. On the modified gross income, as you mentioned, Commissioner Benson, of course, there's just so many deductions you can take, right? And I don't know how you would get to those kind of deductions because, of course, a lot of the tax law has changed. So you can't deduct as much as you used to. I've got a limit in now in terms of how much I can deduct for taxes, for property taxes myself. So those laws have changed, and sometimes not to the benefit of middle income people either. So no, there was no doubt that this was going to happen. I just feel like every 2 years this comes before us, and I feel like it's important to move forward with it. Like, again, if it became what I call very onerous or difficult on the budget, that's something we could write in the ordinance to say that we would sunset it or we look at it every 2 years. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so Shirley, I have a few questions now. In the agenda packet, it looks like if this were to pass, then there's a few things that could happen. Either the county would be operating at a deficit, which means that something would have to be cut, services, employees. And I guess in my mind, I don't want people to become unemployed. But I know another option would be to get this on the ballot and see if the people of Bernalillo County want to have their property taxes raised. It would be put to a vote. Is that accurate?
Madam Chair, yes, that's accurate. The statute allows for you, if the ordinance is introduced and adopted, that you can go to the voters and enact an increment or a mill rate on the property taxes to cover the payment for this.
Okay.
If you don't do that, then you would have to adjust your expenditure budget, because we do, as you said, a balanced budget.
Okay, so it could be put to the voters, but there's no guarantee that the voters would vote to raise their property taxes. And in which case, then we would have to continue down that road of being in some sort of financial trouble, it seems like, and having to make some sort of adjustments. And I guess speaking from somebody who has a lot of unincorporated Bernalillo County in their district, that, we really rely on those services. I can't imagine where things would be cut. The county does a lot of really good stuff, as we know. And I know that, it's essential. We're always looking for, right now, we're always looking for more money to pave roads and, fund our community centers and the sheriff's department, fire department, things that are essential, our transfer station out in the East Mountains. So I'm not really sure where those cuts would happen if things didn't fall exactly into place where people would say, yes, please raise my taxes to make up for this. So I feel very uncomfortable with this. It seems like the financial impact maybe wouldn't even really hit until a couple of years out when, maybe certain people who are on the commission now aren't even on the commission at that time to kind of clean up. So it just seems really dicey. Commissioner Barboa?
Thank you. I also just have a clarity question. Would those changes, like as I assume, and I would like maybe Shirley can answer for me, that those changes and offsets that would be made would also be approved by the commission, like as you develop those changes in the budget with the county manager and others, those changes would then be voted by commission. So we could decide essentially where they are coming from. Is that true? Am I correct?
Shirley?
So your question was, would the adjustments have to come from somewhere else in the budget, and would that come back to the commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, all the commissioners have to approve any budgets. So for example, if it were to occur now, the adjustments or anything that we would be making would be a part of the FY22 budget, which we will be bringing forth to you all for review and approval. We collect property taxes also for other entities, but we can't assess or charge them or expect them to cover any of this rebate amount. We would have to absorb that ourselves. And again, Bernalillo has more residents that would meet that criteria than say Los Alamos or Santa Fe. And yes, we've tried to do our best to come up with numbers. I think, I can say that the 14 is probably high. The 9 might be more reasonable, might be a little bit high. I don't know, because we don't have the accurate data, the specific data, I should say, to say that 5 taxpayers qualify for this rebate, looking at prior tax years. And it is correct that it's a part of the PIT RC, which is the rebate credit form on the state income tax that gets filed. So to be able to, if we had that kind of information, yes, we could get a better idea. If we then understood that, then we would kind of know what things to, if they're going to be reducing, because there's only a certain amount of growth, and then there's the reduction of that you'd have to do on expenditures. We are subject to cost of living as well, in terms of our contracts and things like that, those go up. So even though that there's, we try really hard to accommodate new stuff and build everything in. And again, I think it's a nice idea, but I'm a little concerned about the financial impact, and especially given right now with COVID and all the uncertainty. And that's my concern. And so.
Madam Chair, if I could just close up.
Absolutely, Commissioner
Thank
O'Malley.
you. This is the biggest problem I had with this too, is I think those assumptions, I think they're way off. I think it's closer to what I talked about. So that's the first thing. So at least we know kind of where we're going, because I think those assumptions are way too high. The second thing is, I would not support even sending something to the voters to increase taxes. I'm not going to support increase in property tax. So that's why I think it was important. It was like, what is the liability of the county? It's probably this number, and that's closer to it. I just don't want this sort of alarming other number, which I don't think is accurate. So, but anyway, I close. Thank you.
Thanks. And to that point, Commissioner O'Malley, I guess I really like Commissioner Quesada's idea that does not raise taxes, but if the amount is as low as you have estimated, then, it seems like a worthwhile endeavor to see how the county can help people with truly low incomes, because to your point, Shirley Reagan, I do understand about, people who have high incomes and good CPAs and attorneys and know how to get tax deductions. To your point, Commissioner O'Malley, yes, I am not one of those people who is totally up to speed on the new tax codes, but I know that that I would prefer to help people who truly are low income. And so, and not raise taxes. So I think Commissioner Casada's idea is a good one. If there's no other comments, I do have a technical question for our county attorney, Ken Martinez. I did not see in the agenda packet that we actually have an ordinance for this. So it looks like there's actually nothing written up that we would be approving at this point.
That's correct. There is no draft ordinance because that would take commissioners' input as to what that would be. The statute with regard to this specific matter comes out of the taxation portion of the New Mexico statutes. And it seems to be drafted a little bit not as clear as with regard to the county statute with regard to county policies. You all know our policy is that you would have introduction for publication of the actual ordinance, publish it for 30 days, act on it afterwards. This indicates that you would have this open meeting, which we just had for public comment on this issue. The statute requires it happen on every 2 years on odd number years in January. That box has just been checked because you did do that. Then it would be up to the commission if they would take action on it. I don't think we could adopt an ordinance tonight because we don't have an ordinance before us. Depending on the will of the commission, I think the commission could ask us to move forward to draft an ordinance for further review. The inconsistency between the taxation statute that we're looking at specifically and the county commission statute with regard to process is it says 30 days from the publication. I think we would read that in terms of the publication of the actual ordinance, not with regard to the publication of this notice for the open meeting. So I hope I didn't say too much or make it too complicated, but I want to make it clear that if we're moving to adopt, we'd have to move to adopt a proposed ordinance in front of us, which contains questions that are already being presented, like what tax years would be implicated. So that would be up to the will of the commission.
So
Okay.
Madam Chair, we could move to direct. That would be our motion, to direct to, and then, of course, it looks like it's going to fail, but we could move to direct. After all, this is an item on the agenda for action. Direct the staff to draft an ordinance, if that's the motion we can make. Is that a motion we can make?
I'd like to ask Shirley, is this how the item, or Julianne, is this how the item has been presented every year, every other year, every 2 years?
Yeah, so looking back at the 2019 agenda item, it is essentially the same, some variation in language, but the same request for a public hearing and then to introduce for adoption of an ordinance.
Okay. So it seems like there's a lot of unknowns at this point. And so, I guess, I'm not sure if it would change the vote. Julianne, would it change anything if we were to change the wording of what we're voting on?
So you can make a floor amendment to the motion if the intent is to go the route as Commissioner O'Malley stated.
Well, I don't know what we can do. We have to take action on this, Julie, and I want to be able to follow the right rules. I don't think what are the rules? It's an action item. And we have a motion and a second to do something. What are we supposed to do then?
So I think
And
if
then,
the motion and a second on the floor, you will have to take that to a vote.
okay,
But I'll defer to legal, but if there's an opportunity for an amendment to any motion, but I think because there is a second and a motion and a second, it may just close the issue, but I'll defer to legal.
That's correct. There's the motion in the second now. I heard the commissioner say to adopt. I would just warn that we wouldn't be able to adopt the ordinance because the ordinance is not in front of us. We'd have to bring the ordinance, a draft ordinance, back to this commission for the regular course of commission action. This is a complicated matter. It's funny because I get a listserv from all the county attorneys, and they're all talking about this month, as you can imagine. And 33 counties, 31 of them bring it up in this format just to see if there's any interest in moving forward on it. 32 have moved forward on, 32 of the 33 have moved forward on it, Los Alamos and Santa Fe. The weird thing about it is the state statute coming out of the taxation portion has this weird thing that says you have to bring it up to see if you want to do it or not. There's no other provisions like that where the state's telling the counties you have to put it on your agenda just to ask the question. The question being presented, then it's up to you what you would like to do next. So I agree with Julie, and it's really the will of the commission. I would suggest, though, that if you're adopting moving forward, we would still have some more work to do in actually drafting the ordinance. We can't really act on an ordinance that isn't published and isn't in front of us. What's published is the question. And the question is,
Madam Chair, this, as I said, it's come up every 2 years. I really feel like, it's been left alone. Nobody's done anything with it. I'd like to be able to say that I support it. And, Commissioner Barboa does too. How do we do that? I mean, I don't expect it to pass because it's clear that it's not going to, but I would like us to vote on this issue. So, Mr. Martinez, what is the language I need to do to say so we can get this done? You're off. You're on mute.
yeah, I think Ms. Reagan had sent out a letter, I think last week, indicating the process, and I agree with her on the process. And let me try to read that to you now. State statute mandates the counties which have not already adopted an ordinance, which is everyone but Los Alamos.
We know.
Who have also brought that up. The purpose is to receive the public testimony, which you did, and the board shall take action on whether or not to introduce for adoption a low-income property tax ordinance at the February 23rd, 2020 administrative meeting. That's how Shirley had written it up, which I think fits within all our timelines.
Okay.
But I defer to everybody about fitting it in the timelines.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's
I see that if that's the way it's been done, if that is how we voted on it in the past, that's how, I don't know how many years, Shirley, when did the commission first start voting on this?
I'm not sure. I came in 2012, so I was here for the 2013. I understand they did it for the 2011. It might have gone back as far as 2009. I'm not sure. I know that early on when I saw it, I said, wow, this is really cool. So we went to our legal department because of the financial analysis, and they helped draft that. And this was pre-Ken, draft that second motion, because it is kind of awkward because you're supposed to hold the hearing and then determine from that if you want to move forward with the notice of intent to do an ordinance. And then you typically with a notice of intent, like Ken says, you would have a draft ordinance that would take a time frame on it. I mean, they give you parameters in the statute, but it's kind of.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. So I think two things. First of all, a motion and a second have been made, and also This has been voted on. This item has come up every 2 years. Commissioner O'Malley, you're in your second term. You must have voted on this a few times.
No, it
So-
never went up for a vote. It
Okay,
never went
well,
up for a vote.
Okay, well, you saw the item before.
Yeah, I
and
did.
so we're just gonna continue on and vote on it now. So
Yes.
we have a motion and a second. Anyone else in favor, say aye, please.
Well, okay. It's a motion to approve. And then,
Correct. Motion to introduce for adoption a low-income property tax rebate ordinance. You
All in
had
favor, say aye.
motion to approve. Commissioner Barboa, do you still second?
Yes.
And I don't hear any other aye votes. All against?
Aye.
Okay. So that fails, that item
Okay.
failed. And county,
thank you.
thank you, Commissioner O'Malley, for all of your homework. I hope you can pass that along to Commissioner Casada. And we can hopefully work on a program to help people, low-income homeowners. I appreciate your homework on that. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Barboa,
If this is due to pass the motion, yeah, aye.
Commissioner Benson,
No.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes,
Vice Chair Casada,
No.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
No, thank you. Okay, thank you. And so we are moving on to the next one. 9, adoption of resolution. Madam Clerk, please issue resolution numbers for items 9A and 9B, please.
Yes, ma'am. 9A is AR 2021-14. 9B is AR 2021-15.
Thank you. And I see Vice Chair Casada is sponsoring the support of the development of Coors Boulevard. Did you want to say something about this, Commissioner Casada?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think most of us who lived in Albuquerque has driven down Coors Boulevard at one point in their life, especially on the south side of Coors. It's been a huge problem for us. The unfortunate part of that is that it's a state road. And so trying to navigate to get the state to help us, in this area has been no less than challenging. So what we're doing is we're really putting this resolution together to ask them to really start considering how we're going to, fix Coors Boulevard. Parts of it fall in the city, parts of it fall in the county. It's all a state road. So they're also doing the same resolution in the city. Councilwoman Pena is also introducing the same resolution. And what we're trying to do is just pull all of our resources together and really look at how we can make this, better for the community. If you don't know, it's one of the most dangerous roads that we have, especially right when you get to Rio Bravo and Dennis Chavez. As you know, we've had some really horrible accidents. We've had some pedestrians. One pedestrian was hit by a sheriff's officer, run over in the road because there's no sidewalks. There's no way to go to the nice Las Estancias where there's nice shopping now, nice, places to eat. But if you don't have a car, there's not a safe way to navigate that. Going all the way to Gun Club is what we're asking for in this resolution. So I'm not really asking the commission to give me money at this time, but just really to support my effort into trying to make this a priority for the city, the state, and the county moving forward. A little bit of history back, and I can't remember how many years back, there was about $3 million that was allocated for Coors Boulevard, but it was redirected at MERCOG and MTB to be used somewhere else. That's the history of my district. every time they need more money to do something somewhere else, it seems like they take that money out of my district, and it never makes its way back. So we're kind of tired of that. We're going to continue to keep pushing for change in our community. And so with that being said, I really would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, and do I have a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second,
Okay, great. Commissioners Barboa and O'Malley have seconded that. So all in favor of approving Administrative Resolution AR 2021-14, establishing the improvement of a segment of Coors Boulevard from the intersection of Central Avenue and Old Coors Road to the intersection of Coors Boulevard and Gun Club Road, a priority. All in favor say aye. Aye.
aye.
Aye.
And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. So moving on to 9B, the 2021 Health Security Planning and Design Board Act, sponsored by Commissioner O'Malley. Would you like to speak about this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I got a call from Esther Griego. We had passed a resolution supporting their efforts. They've redrafted it. They're asking for our support again. It's changed a little bit. Esther Griego is here to, I was just asked to carry this through to the commission for changes. Esther Griego is here to speak to this, the changes, and I think that probably makes sense if she could be put on. Julie and Buck, I think she might be on.
I see her.
Oh, she's what?
Riego, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you.
First of all, I wanted to find out if there were any questions that I could answer.
Could you just talk a little bit about what this is, the Health Security Planning and Design Board?
Yes, I'm sorry, my Zoom is acting up here on me. The Health Security Planning and Design Board Act is the setup phase of the health security plan. It involves tasking 11 board members to do the setup and the design, and then eventually, and it's going to be a 2-year process. Once that's done, the reports will go to the legislature. The commission will be appointed, and this will be in 2023. And then the commission will take over to complete the design and implement the health security plan. That's in a nutshell, that's basically what it is.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Barboa.
Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, thank you, Esther Griego, for coming to present this too. I understand that last year the legislature passed a study that included appropriations. Can you, in summary, give us what the results of that study were?
The results were that they concurred with the previous 2 studies that the health security plan will lower the increase of healthcare costs. As you know, healthcare costs keep rising, and that doesn't mean that the health security plan would stop the rise of healthcare costs, but it'll diminish the rate at which healthcare costs increase. It will also, and all 3 studies that we have had agreed that the health security plan would save the state millions, if not billions of dollars within the first 5 years. Obviously, in the first couple of years, administrative costs are going to be higher, like any startup business. but by the 5th year, it will be saving the state millions of dollars in healthcare costs.
Thank you, Esther. Madam Chair, a couple of other questions. As what does this ask for the state legislature to approve more appropriations to design this commission?
Yes, Madam Chair and Commissioner Barboa, we are requesting a $600,000 amount to take this setup phase into to start it up. That's for 1 year.
Thank you again, Esther. Madam Chair, I want to commend the work of the Health Security Act. I know that you all have worked really hard for over several years, have organized families from across our state to really lift up the voice of why we need health care for all our families. I have followed the Health Security Act over several years in my work, and I just worry that, there's some legal pieces. This isn't to influence anyone else's vote on this. I just know that places like the Assumption Medicaid covers majority of our state. 40% of our families are Medicaid recipients. There's not currently a process that the Health Security Act can follow that could cover those without federal, because federal dollars coming into the state for Medicaid mean that we need to be able, that those need to go through a state agency. So I worry that I very much appreciate the work of Health Security members to really lift up the voices of a need for healthcare as a human right, which I definitely believe in. I also worry that we continue to put resources into planning for a place that that may not be viable for our state. And so definitely, I know this is just a resolution that the county supports and that your work is mostly at the state level. I just wanted to explain why I won't be voting for this evening, but definitely commend the efforts of Health Security and believe healthcare as a human right is a value of mine.
Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Griego, thank you for joining us tonight. Could you explain a little more in terms of the purpose of the Health Security Planning and Design Board? I'm all about saving money. So you listed, you talked about several million in savings. What are some of the anticipated areas of saving? And how would that impact our constituents here?
Well, the design board is going to be charged with coming up with the actual design of how the plan is going to work. How do doctors get paid? How are we going to deal with global budgeting for hospitals, which will keep the cost of hospital care down? How are we going to enroll folks? How are we going to transition from what the folks have currently to the Health Security Act? It's going to be 11 folks that are experts in healthcare fields, in analytics, in policy making, and there's a long list. When the bill is introduced, and it should be introduced within the next couple of days, we finished doing the final draft last week. You'll be able to see the list of the requirements for someone applying for these positions. And one of the things that we have never had in the bill are details. What does it look like? What is it going to do? And that's what this board is going to work on, is this setup part of the health security plan. Does that answer your question, or?
Yes, ma'am, partly. It's, I guess I'm just not too clear on what exactly the board would do to save us money, but it sounds like it's kind of a general level at this point.
Well, you're right, because they're the ones that are going to come up with all the ideas of how the health security plan is going to deal with savings. And I can't give you exact figures because the board is going to do that. Now, to answer Commissioner Barboa's question, one of the things that was implemented in the Affordable Care Act was that states could develop their own health plan, and they could apply for waivers and tax credits just like the Affordable Care Act has done. And that's something that we plan to take advantage of.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Ms. Griego. I appreciate that. I also think there's a bit of work to be done just around how Medicaid, which is the biggest Medicaid, basically we have the closest probably to a public option that most states can't, because 40% of our state is covered by Medicaid, another 30% by Medicare. So there's this population of folks that are definitely without health care. But as far as I've understood, the Health Security Act's plan up to date has been to be a self-run nonprofit. I love the idea of of really having access, but what that money that comes to our state from federal levels has to be run through a state agency for Medicaid and Medicare. And so they don't, so I love the idea of it. I don't see the viability in it happening, and think that those resources might be better spent. But we are also the county, we don't make this decision. The state gets to make that decision. And I know you're asking for our support in it. I just wanted to explain, because I definitely respect the work you do, to why my vote won't be for it in this evening.
Madam Chair and commissioners, one of the things that the board is going to do is come up with all these ideas and tell us how the savings are going to work, what's going to happen to the plan. And there will be an additional cost analysis using real numbers, not suppositions, not made up numbers, but real numbers to determine the cost and how much people are actually going to pay for it. You know, that is part of the plan, and that's something that the commission in the third year will do. The board will set up most of the plan in the first 2 years, and then the commission will take over and complete the setup and do the cost analysis.
I'd like to ask a question, and I don't know either Ms. Griego or Commissioner Barboa. I know you both know a lot about this. And so if the Health Security Act were to pass, would we still have the other options like Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance, all those other options? This is just something new that a fund the state would administer? Is that accurate?
Madam Chair, the folks that are going to be enrolled automatically are Medicaid recipients. You know, anybody who's on Medicaid will automatically roll into the health security plan. Companies that are covered under ERISA have the choice of choosing to make that choice for their employees, either to keep what they currently have or sign up for the health security plan. The Pueblos and the Navajos will have that same choice. Other individuals who are not covered under any of these groups will have a choice of signing up on their own. Small businesses will have a choice also. How the exact enrollment is going to do, I can't tell you because the board is going to come up with all the details of how it's going to work. And because we haven't had any of those details and people wonder and make suppositions, well, this, what if, and we can't deal with what ifs. We have to have actual figures. And that's why we're having the setup phase.
Okay. Who are the sponsors of this legislation?
Senator Debbie Armstrong and Senator Ortiz y Pino. It will be introduced in the House.
Okay. And when you say it, do you mean this Design Board Act, or
Yes.
is there actually a piece of legislation creating the health security?
Design Board, yes.
Okay.
Planning
So-
and design.
Okay, so we're not anywhere close to actually implementing such
No,
the actual body of doing this. It's just to look into creating a board that would study this, correct?
that will do the setup phase of the plan.
Okay,
Okay.
but, okay, so has the plan been approved by the legislature?
No.
Okay,
That will happen in 2023. Okay, once they get the report from the board of what the setup is for the health plan, then the bill will be reintroduced as the Health Security Act.
okay, okay,
This year, it is not introduced as the Health Security Act. It's being introduced as the Health Security Planning and Design Board.
okay. So what we would be voting on right now is it doesn't cost Bernalillo County any money. We're not putting any money towards this. It is just yes or no. Do we want to support them looking into designing this so that they can introduce it for
Right.
legislation in 2023?
Correct.
Did I get that? Okay.
Yes, you
Madam
did.
Chair, Madam Chair, just for a little bit of clarity, I think it's, this is just like Commissioner Quesada's bill, where we're making a priority from the county to the state legislature, saying this is on our list of priorities. This, like I said before, is a state decision, and our state legislature will decide whether to pass this appropriations to form this commission. This is a great organizing effort by Health Security to make sure that counties are informed and that they're hopefully supporting it as a priority to the legislature. I just wanted to clear that up.
Mhm. Okay, okay.
And Madam Chair,
Yes,
counties
ma'am.
across the state have voted in favor of the health security. From liberal Santa Fe to conservative Roswell. We've gotten their support. And one of the things that people keep asking me, why do you keep working on the health security plan? Since I have no skin in the game, when the plan is passed, I will not be able to sign up for the plan. My son will, but I will not because I'm a federal employee, and that's one of the groups that's excluded from the plan. And the reason I continue to work on this is that I hear so many stories of people that have to make a choice between buying food for their families or buying medication for their child, of going to the doctor or being afraid to go to the doctor because they're afraid of how much it will cost, or going bankrupt because of medical costs. 47% of bankruptcies happen because of medical costs. And that's why I continue to work on this plan. And I hope for your support.
Okay. Yeah, I know you've been working on it a long time.
Not as
and
long as Mary Feldblum, but a
as
few
long
years.
as long as what? I didn't hear you.
I said, not as long as our executive director, Mary Feldblum,
Okay, okay.
but
Okay. So, okay. Thank you for explaining just what it is we're voting on here. So um, do we have a motion to approve this item?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval. You know, this is
second.
something we passed a couple of years ago and, or yeah, was it last year? And they want to update it. And
Uh-huh.
I think that's something that they want to do. So I support that.
Okay.
I'll second it. It's something that I'm interested in looking at what the final, you know, it's just a study at this point in time. It's not something that we're gonna, but we don't even have a say so whether they implement it or not. But, you know, I'd like to look at it as an option. The more options in healthcare, especially in a state like ours, I think the more beneficial it is for everybody. You know, I like competition too, like competitiveness. When it comes to certain things. And this one is a good one to have competition in. So I will second that.
Okay, and I will actually vote in favor of it. I know it's been around for a long time, and I'm always one for doing homework and more research. So yeah, I'm in favor of in kind of looking at this, doing the research, getting the people together, and then finally bringing it to a point of seeing whether or not the state should proceed. But yes, I am totally in favor of having more options. It sounds like it would not eliminate options for healthcare, that people could still keep whatever insurance, and we'd still have these other forms of, you know, paying for healthcare, but it would be something that if it all works out, it could help a lot more people. So I vote for it. Anyone else in favor of it? Okay. And I appreciate Commissioner Barboa expressing your arguments, your thoughts against it. I appreciate that. So Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll on this one?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Barboa,
No.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I have trouble hearing Commissioner Barboa. Did she say yay or
I
nay?
said no. I'm
No,
sorry.
okay,
I've
thank
been
you.
saying that and I don't know what's wrong. Sorry.
Okay. And so, okay. So let's see, I lost track here. Was it 3-2, 3-1?
It's
4-1?
4-1.
4-1. Okay, so that passes 4-1. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me honest,
Sure.
Clerk Stover. Okay, so moving on to approvals. Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the CAFR, for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2020. Do I have a motion to accept the CAFR for fiscal year ending June
So
30,
moved.
2020? I will second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Madam Chair.
Pamela Moon.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, Piscotti, and Commissioners. I'm Pamela Moon, Director of Accounting and Budget, and it is a requirement of the OSA for our external auditors to do a short presentation. So I know you just voted on it, but I was hoping I could have that happen. Our motion that you just approved was to accept the fiscal year 2020 comprehensive annual financial reports. Our auditors are Clifton Larson Allen LLP, and they held their exit conference on December 31st, 2020. We presented the CAFR, the draft CAFR, to the New Mexico Office of State Auditor. And at this point, they've given us permission to release the report for commission to accept. So as I mentioned, one of the requirements is for our auditors to present the results of the audit to you. Georgie Ortiz with CLA is here to explain that to you. So if you could just have her come on for a moment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Georgie, good to see you
Hi.
again.
Hi, Madam Chair and other members of the commission. I'll just briefly do this. As Pam said, there was an exit conference December 31st with management. The report did get released January 22nd from the state auditor's office. I'm just going to briefly go over some required communication. I did want to note that the opinion that we gave as auditors was a clean opinion and an unmodified opinion. That's the highest opinion that we can give. So that's very good. The required communication under generally accepted auditing standards, there was one uncorrected misstatement. It was in the amount of $480,000. It was revenue did not get accrued. It will be recorded as a transaction in 2021. It was not material to the fund or the governmental activities. We did not have any disagreements with management during the course of the audit. We had no significant issues discussed with management prior to our retention. There was no consultations with other accountants as far as we know. Again, there is nothing wrong with that. We would just want the same information to all be on the same page. There are no new accounting policies for the CAFR for this year. Accounting estimates related to depreciation expense, actuarials, as it relates to pension, allowance for accounts receivable, compensated absences. Financial statement disclosures were the same as in the prior year, no new. Management representations, we did in writing confirm from management that that we received everything from Bernalillo County to do the audit. We had a single audit. A single audit relates to federal programs. There were two major programs for fiscal year 2020. It was the CARES funding and the Homeland Security grant. There were no findings related to those two major programs. There are 6 total findings. I'll briefly go over those. The first one is 2020-001, internal controls over accounts payable and maintenance of vendor master. This related to a fraudulent payment. Somebody called accounts payable. They updated the master vendor list, and that created the fraudulent payment. That was against the policy, internal policy of Bernalillo County, and they have since made corrections to that. The next finding, 2020-002, disaster recovery plan. The county does have a disaster recovery plan. It's not tested as regularly as it should be at this point. 2020-003, periodic reviews of user access. Again, the county does audits of their user access. They don't do it as regular as recommended though. 2020-004, Active Directory password configurations. This was due to COVID. Some password configurations were changed during 2020, mainly related to the folks now that work from home and not at the county itself. And so that password configuration was just not updated per the internal policy. The next one is 2020-005, internal controls over procurement. There were 2 small findings we found here. One related to a purchase order. The unit price did not agree with the contract. We did go back and verify that Bernalillo County paid what they should have per the contract. And another one was a vendor file did not have documentation that it was under suspension and debarment under federal guidelines. We did actually go back. It was not suspended or debarred. So I want to notate that off also. The last finding related to the Metropolitan Detention Center, the unclaimed property. There's an unclaimed property report that has to be issued to the state. That was not done timely. Subsequently, MDC did go back and filed that report though. From the 2 findings last year, the only one repeated was a disaster recovery plan. The one that was cleared was the security monitoring. It was resolved. And that's all I had to say. I really want to thank Pam Moon and Jackie Sanchez. Very competent group in the finance department, very professional. We really appreciated their help. It was a really hard audit, hard time during COVID, so we really appreciated it.
Thank you so much, Georgie, and thanks for all your work, Pamela. Was there anything else you wanted to say about that? Okay, so we had a motion and a second, and I think we passed that unanimously. So Clerk Stover, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Barboa,
Yes.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Casada,
Yes.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you, and that passes unanimously. And last but not least, we have the Fleet and Facilities Management Alvarado Square renovations and Commission Chambers Building approval of change order number 6. And County Manager, would you like to say a few words about what this item refers to?
This is pretty short and sweet, and so all it basically is, it's thank goodness, no money. It just has to do with timing. So as you know, we had a very aggressive schedule, and that's because of the great work of HB Construction. And so we were anticipating being done with the main tower at the end of February. And because of COVID and all the things that were going on that were certainly beyond their control, we are asking for an extension of that time period for the completion date. And let me just say, it was because of COVID. They had to shut down the job site for like 30 days. And then there were some delays, supply delays because of COVID as well. So what basically will happen is the chambers the completion date was supposed to be on April 9th. And so it will still be on April 9th. So both the chambers and the main tower, the administrative building, will be scheduled for completion, a completion date of April 9th. And that's basically the basis for us coming in front of you to get this changed, to get this approved. So, and we've got Zach here from HB Construction, who's here to answer any questions, but I'm going to just say this is our first design build project that the county's ever done. Very successful. They've done an awesome job. HB Construction, Decker Parrish and Sabatini, their architects. I don't think I haven't seen a project of this magnitude that has been, that they've done better with. And this is one of the best projects, I really feel, that I need to tell you that. And I want to thank our purchasing staff and our staff from facilities and legal and everybody, finance, everybody that helped us get there. And of course, you all, Madam Chair, for supporting us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, I will move for approval to authorize the county manager to approve and execute change order number 6 for design build project Alvarado Square renovation and Commission Chambers building with HB Construction to extend the substantial completion date to April 9, 2021. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Casada, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none opposed, that passes unanimously. Clerk Stover, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Casada,
Yes.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Yes,
All right.
thank you. And so now on to discussion. I will check my time here for 5 minutes, but after reading, I think maybe all of us, we saw the editorial in today's Albuquerque Journal about the sad situation among people who are unhoused. And it's heartbreaking when, we see these people on the street, especially this time of year in the winter, and it's cold and they need shelter. So I am asking County Manager Julie to find the money. I'm asking for at least $500,000. If we can do $1 million, that would be great. But something that can help people who are without homes right now, because the Homeless Coordinating Council is working on the gateway centers for longer. It's going to take longer to get those up and running. We have other things in place, but I think that we can find some solutions that we can implement right away. I'm thinking of the Motel Voucher program, which I've actually been working on an initiative myself with Betty Valdez and with continuing our partnership with APS to house homeless families and children that are identified through APS through a voucher program that wouldn't cost the county any money. So County Manager Julie, if you could speak to this a bit to see if there's a way that we could provide some temporary housing relief.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. And I know that we had a discussion right before the meeting about this. And so that's correct. I read the editorial as well. And I do want to say, I think the city of Albuquerque is doing everything they can to support our homeless population. And of course, Bernalillo County is assisting. And we are actually operating a hotel for our homeless. But it's not enough. And I know reading the editorial, they're saying that they're having to turn back families, which is, you know, unheard of, right? So I totally agree. And if you would allow me to work with our finance staff, I will see what I can do. And I guess my recommendation would be is to maybe enhance what we're already doing with the city, enhance what we're already doing with APS, and then maybe possibly working with existing nonprofits that support our homeless community and to provide funding to them as well to enhance what they're doing. So not starting anything new, but just enhancing what we already have going on. So I'm very confident that we have the best staff ever that can help us achieve what you are speaking about. So I believe, and Ken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I can use my emergency powers that you all have given me so that we can put this on the fast track and take care of this very vulnerable population. I know how important this is. So I thank you so much for bringing this up, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Ken, can we do that? Can we let Julie use her executive powers?
We'll look at that immediately and have an answer by the morning.
Okay.
We'll figure out a methodology to move it as quickly as possible.
Okay, thanks. You know, I also want to mention, I see Marcos Gonzalez here, that I have heard that the county received $5 million, I believe this past weekend from the federal government, and that will be going to landlord relief to cover delinquent rent payments, even back payments. And the city, I'm hoping, I believe they will implement a similar program. And Commissioner Casada, I see your hand is up. So you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, look, you know, we do have many issues, especially when it comes to housing. I know that the executive powers were related to COVID. So I think we need to, you know, tread lightly on how we use those executive powers. I also would like to really study not only temporary housing, hotel kind of vouchers, but, you know, especially if we're going to team up with APS and children and families on looking at how we can support, you know, already existing permanent type of housing, or how we can expand that with some of our dollars. I do agree that, you know, at this time we can tie in COVID to some of the homeless. I just don't know if it would be that much money. I'd also like to see what kind of monies we still have left and how much money the city has for the voucher program. I'm not quite sure. I think you may know, Madam Chair, if they still have dollars available. Are they out of dollars? And how that city partnership would look like and work.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Barboa, you had your hand up. Did you want to say anything?
Oh, it was the clapping reaction.
Oh, okay. Okay. And yeah, I agree. You know, motel vouchers, it's not the answer to everything. We need to look at everything. But, you know, I think we have to look at everything. And so we can't wait until a bigger solution is created. I feel like we just need to do something now to help people out. People are suffering, especially out in the cold. And the Journal editorial mentioned how many children were without stable housing. So I think that's something we really just need to look at. So thank you.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Oh, no, wait, can you hold on, Commissioner O'Malley?
Yeah.
Because Julianne, we are at our 5-minute mark.
Yes, we are.
So do the rules say that we have 5 minutes? Can that be extended?
I think you've already stated your statement, and now it's just up for discussion. So I think we're still.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner O'Malley.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I believe the city council passed $2 million recently for the hotel vouchers or rapid rehousing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I've used up my 5 minutes. So if there's no other discussion on that, then we will just mark our
Madam Chair?
calendars. Yes, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, if I could, take 5 minutes, I just want to talk about something as that personal privilege, I guess. This is a good time to do it. I would like us to really consider, and I mentioned this last year, about having public comment, just like the city of Albuquerque does. And I think the state now allows for it. Let's set it up so that we could do that. There's no reason why we can't. Now that we have, if the city council can do it, we should be able to do it. And I would really like us to see us start to have public comment again. Thank you.
Julianne, do you have any update on that? Because I know that you were looking into how to do that. I know that was the original stumbling block, that you're kind of the person behind the scenes. And so you would have to coordinate that. Do you have an update on that? Because I think we all love public comment. We love to hear from our constituents and be transparent. So is there an update?
Yeah, so I have gotten with the city on how they are conducting their public comment. They have to move to a Zoom webinar platform that assists them in monitoring that a little bit more carefully. So it is something that we can certainly implement, and it is my plan to put a proposal together to present to the chair so that we could hopefully implement that on the for the February 9th meeting.
Mm-hmm. That would be great. Thank you so much. Thank you for looking into that. Okay, is there anything else? I love that we're having a robust discussion on many topics tonight. If there's nothing else, then please mark your calendars for Tuesday, February 9, 2021. The zoning meeting starts at 3 p.m. on Zoom, and then stay tuned afterward at 5 p.m. on February 9, 2021 for our next administrative meeting. And so there's going to be some official signing of documents behind the scenes after this. And if there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay warm, stay healthy out there. Have a good night.